my kids can fend for themselves. That's all I'm saying.
This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Cannata.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
Anthony.
Yes, Jeffrey.
It's that time of year again. It's the time.
Toyotathon?
No, it's not Toyotathon. But I understand when you get excited about Toyotathon. No, it's that time when we need to start thinking once again about death.
Maybe 5 minutes a day. You got to think about death 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. Well, let us, dear listener, be a reminder to consider death. Because our first story this week is all about when to die, how to die, and what's going on with death. We got a story submitted to us on our wonderful Discord by our friend A. Tomlinson. Thank you, A. Tomlinson.
If you want to join that Discord, head to patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. It's $1 a month, and it directly supports the show.
This story immediately made me think of you, Anthony, because I've never been able to get out of my head the imagery of your dream that you had about...
You talk to me about this all the time. You've done this on the show multiple times, but it's not just on the show. Like, you've spoken to me about this.
This has stayed with me, Anthony. This is something that, this is a brain worm that you put into my head that has stayed with me. It is a visual metaphor that your subconscious created that I have, that has been incepted into my subconscious. It's something that really affected me.
So I guess, I'll go ahead and say I had a dream when I was a youth. This was like when I was a teenager. And in that dream, everybody had a floating robot that followed around behind them, like a big, like hulking solid robot.
The robot looked like a coffin, right?
Well, the robot doesn't look like a coffin. It just follows you around like a robot. It's almost like, it's a very simple, like, in the dream, I remember it being like a very simple sort of like the big, thick robots in Robotron 64. Like they're very, or almost like a claptrappy thing, but big and like hulking, you know? And they follow you around your entire life silently. They do nothing. They're just there. Everybody has one. And the moment you die, it turns into a coffin and a rocket and shoots you off into space the moment you die.
I always imagined it. I guess I don't envision the robot in particular. I envision more the coffin that just is constantly floating and hovering. A robotic coffin just waiting for the day it is needed.
I mean, honestly, that's the simplest way to go. And if I was going to give feedback to the product team, the transformation seems unnecessary.
It's a little excessive as far as from a design perspective.
But this has stuck with you, huh? And I think, can you put your finger on why?
I think it's the visual metaphor of death constantly hovering over your shoulder every second of every day, never knowing when it's going to happen. But once it is, it's final and then you're gone.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's this constant reminder, this physical reminder of the looming inevitability of death.
Mm. I like to think that's my function.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, it's true. It is, you're a little bird on my shoulder, constantly whispering into my ear.
Yeah.
You're going to die.
You're going to die, bud.
Well, this brings us to this story because someone, Anthony, I'm not going to say they did it, but they've gotten closer than most, I would say. Folks in Switzerland. Well, assisted suicide in Switzerland is legal. And about 1,300 people died by assisted suicide in Switzerland in 2020. There are 2 assisted suicide organizations in Switzerland. One is called Exit and the other one is called Dignitas. Folks, I think that is a dignified way to die. I'm sort of in favor of legal assisted suicide. If people are fully aware of what, fully in command of their faculties and want to make that choice, I think you should have the option to die as you choose.
It's your decision.
But
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's a controversial topic, but I believe that it should be your choice.
I mean, particularly, I always think of particularly when people have completely fatal, completely negative prognoses, and you know you're going to be a burden on yourself and others, and you know it's going to be painful. You know that it's not going to be, you know what I mean? And like, you should be able to choose in that case, be like, I don't want to go through all this. It all ends the same way. Let's do it in a way that's comfortable. And I think I know where you're going, because I saw this. And you know, the difference between you and me, Jeff, is I saw this and I was like, yeah, of course. And I didn't even think about it as a story. I was like, yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Well, I think there's some juicy stuff to dig into here, because this is there is a Swiss or Australian. It's registered in Australia, but I think the founder is Swiss. Regardless, this is a fella named Philippe Nitschke, who has invented a new way. To back up, the 1,300 people that died by assisted suicide in Switzerland in 2020, they ingested liquid sodium pentobarbital as the means to die. And this is a new invention from a guy who intends to revolutionize the methodology and the function of assisted suicide. So when you take liquid sodium pentobarbital, you fall asleep, go into a deep coma, and then die, right? So it is a peaceful, relatively peaceful way to go.
That's honestly, when you think about it, like when you ask people like, how do you want to go out? And everybody's just like, I want to go to bed and I want to peacefully in my sleep and blah, blah, blah. Like that's literally what it is.
Yeah. Well, this new invention, is actually a 3D printed device, what they're calling a capsule. You've seen it, I hope. You said you saw the story. So you've seen what it looks like. It looks like something. It looks like the old clamshell Apple, like around 2000, the Macintosh clamshell Macs that they were selling, like with the translucent blue, plasticky look.
It looks like an escape. It looks like an escape pod from like Lost in Space,
or from Krypton.
Yeah,
like in Krypton.
Like in a later, like in Supergirl, the TV show. It looks like it's very much like a pod from there, but it does look like a space pod. Yes.
So the idea behind this capsule, which again, there's only 2 of them. They are evidently currently 3D printing the third. These are prototypes. The idea is that these things are portable, easily moved about. You can take them anywhere you'd like to be, whether that is one of these facilities that are specifically designed for assisted suicide, or let's say you wanted to pass away, in the park or in nature somewhere. They could literally be brought out into the woods or whatever.
Love it.
It's relatively portable. And then you climb inside, and I guess there are a series of questions that are asked of you inside the thing. And then there's a button that you press, and then it takes the oxygen level inside from 21% down to 1%. You feel a little disorientation.
We should say it's not just sucking the air out of it. I think it replaces it with like nitrogen. So you're still breathing. Exactly. And you still get this sense that you're breathing, and you don't feel.
There's no choking. There's no gagging. There's no gasping for air. Yeah. It just changes. Yes, it replaces it with nitrogen. You die of hypoxia and hypocapnia. It's lack of oxygen, lack of carbon dioxide, but you basically just go to sleep again. I guess there's a euphoric feeling, and then you lose consciousness. No choking, no gagging, and then 5 to 10 minutes later, you die.
Dude, I had a gas leak in my apartment once. And this was like back when I was living in Brooklyn, and I had like 3 roommates, and we were living in it. It wasn't like a slum, but it wasn't great. It just was like a bad building. You know how I wear that T-shirt that says BQE, but it looks like it's a college, like a university shirt. My
Yeah.
friends got that for me because that apartment was like literally right next to the BQE on-ramp. And so you just hear traffic all day, and it's where we used to shoot bite jackers, so it was like loud. Anyway, not a great apartment. And one morning, me and all the roommates are hanging out, and I immediately thought that was weird because like usually one of us at least was gone, or we had work, or we had stuff to do, and we were just like hanging out, like we had all gotten up late, and we were just goofing around and being like real goofy, real silly, just like playing around, just like having fun, just like not doing much, had nothing planned for the day. And then we realized the reason we felt that way is because there had been a gas leak in the apartment all day. And the moment I opened the window, our moods immediately, like we got headaches and our moods immediately changed. We were like, oh my God, this is terrible. We could have died.
Before that, it was phenomenal.
It was a blast.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of the sensation here. The goal with all of this, and I think this is what makes it worth discussion on our show, the goal is to demedicalize the dying process.
Mm-hmm.
So because right now, in the way it works in Switzerland with the liquid pentobarbital, there needs to be a doctor to prescribe that.
Yep.
Right? And also to confirm the person's mental capacity.
Yep.
Now, this guy wants to both remove the need for a doctor's prescription and also remove any kind of psychiatric review from the process. So it literally allows the individual to control the method themselves. They said, listen to this, quote, "Our aim is to develop an artificial intelligence screening system to establish the person's mental capacity." So what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. I like the idea of it. I wonder when we'll be at a place where we all trust that technology and the government trusts that, like, not our government, but maybe like the government of Switzerland, where like this is already a legal thing, where they trust it enough to be unadministrated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think
for multiple reasons, right? Like not just, hey, we want to be sure that like this person doesn't just know the answers to these questions, but still isn't in their right mind or whatever. But also just like, is there somebody watching to make sure this is actually painless, that it does actually go off without a hitch, right? Sort of like when they do, even like when they administer a lethal injection to a prisoner here in the States, and somebody has to see and make sure that it doesn't go wrong and it's not, too painful, even though, hey, let's stop executing incarcerated people. But anyway,
right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, but I do like the idea of demedicalizing it for the same reason I enjoy, like, it feels to me like when a relative is near death and they move them from the hospital to like a hospice or an assisted home where it's like, this place is a little more comfortable. It feels a little less medical. You can visit them here.
Right.
It's not as frightening here,
Yeah, and I think that the goal of sort of giving the control to the individual and allowing the individual to be the one to press the button, to administer the thing, to like, there's something dignified in that as well. There's something I respect in it. And of course, you want to make sure this person is acting in their right mind and not doing it for sort of, the wrong reasons. But I think, you hear the term AI and it sounds all creepy. It's like, oh, the robots are going to determine whether you're going to live or die. I think AI might be the wrong term to use here. I think there's just sort of I like the idea of it being a dispassionate process. It's not a human with emotions saying, are you, am I checking off on your decision here? It is a system that just needs to, hit a certain threshold of capacity. And then it can say yes, you can push the button.
I imagine it being similar to the little self intake form that I fill out every week before I talk to my therapist, which like a lot of insurance companies have, and a lot of therapists do them on their own anyway. It's just like a standard questionnaire that you answer every week about how you've been feeling, how you've been, physically, mentally, stuff like that. and I think there is a way to standardize this and to decide like, hey, according to this test, like maybe not today, maybe come back tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or you're ready. You know?
Yeah. Well, the idea is not that you would like get inside it and then it would ask you questions. It's more like you would fill out or engage in this process as a way to order the delivery of the device.
So that's what I pictured is like, it's something that, it's something that happens before the process where it's like, I want to order this thing and I want to have it meet me in the, like, I want to have it come to this beach that I love. And it's like, great.
Right.
Before we tow this thing to the beach, you have to fill out these forms and we're going to have you fill them out like a couple times or whatever. We're going to check in with you. And then like, you know, we'll have it. And then the ones when you get inside, I guess, are just confirmation questions.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha. The only thing about it being like, I don't know.
Are you the right person? Did somebody else accidentally crawl inside this?
And I was like, oh no, this is another screenplay. Like, this isn't a real thing. This is a screenplay where like somebody puts somebody else in there, or like they switch it, or like somebody accidentally gets inside. I don't know. Like it's dumb. Or somebody like forces you in there and like starts the process for you. That's all like spooky talk, but there are ways to like mitigate
sitting
that.
on top of it, staring at you through the blue translucent plastic.
Speaking of the blue translucent plastic, when I saw this earlier this week, the first question that popped into my head is, why'd they have to make it look nicer than my apartment? Why does the suicide booth look nicer than where I'm living my life? That's not okay. Like, I'm not fine with, like, my apartment's not as cool looking or as comfortable looking.
You wouldn't want to be caught dead in your apartment.
Womp womp. But yeah, kind of. Like, I was very angry at how nice it looked.
The other thing that I think is one of the reasons that it made me think of your dream is that I know it is positioned to be comfortable and you to be reclined and yet, you know, able to sort of see out. But the way it is positioned looks like it's ready to be jettisoned into space.
No, it's on. So the capsule itself is like lozenge shaped, and then it's on a like almost a giant doorstop shaped base. That's like it's got like and it does look like
a ramp. It looks like a ramp that it's ready to shoot off
like
of.
a human cannonball or something. Like it really does look like, great, you're dead. Ka-chunk.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to worry about like, it's so odd to me. The aesthetics of it are interesting because it looks like the closest thing that it looks like to me that I see in real life is like when you're at an airport or a mall and they have like the nap or massage booths.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like way overly designed.
Yes. Because here's the thing. I don't think this needs to look like Spaceship.
I agree.
I think they just decided it's time for Spaceship.
I think that is intentional to make it feel, I don't know, somehow futuristic and not, it's almost like kind of not scary because it's
safe,
it feels
techie, medical,
clean techie. Right. Exactly.
Sci-fi, but also like, I don't think the spaceship and the incline and the base and the fact that it looks like it's going to take off is a coincidence or a thing they didn't think about. I think they are like, are you ready for this part of your journey? Right?
Yeah, are you ready to go to the next place?
I think this is definitely something that was in their heads, but it does sort of just look like an overly designed Razr or MP3 player from the early 2000s. It sort of looks like when you wanted an iPod and like your parents just came home with like, I don't know, an iRiver, you know, or a Creative Labs something, and you're just like, it might be a Samsung Yep or something from Sony. Like,
well, this is why it works for our screenplay, right? Because you could definitely see someone climbing into this thing and thinking it's a cool, mall ride of some kind.
Oh, they're climbing in there looking for like Surge soda or Hypercolor t-shirts. You know, like, oh shit, I left my slap bracelets and pogs in here.
What does this thing vibrate violently and shoot images onto the screen? What happens? What do I do? I push this button to make it start? Let's do this.
Oh no, I dropped my Tamagotchi in this lozenge. But I think right to die stuff is something we are incredibly uncomfortable with here in the States.
Yeah. Yes.
I read this great book last year called The Swedish Art of Death Cleaning. I don't know if you are familiar with this.
I am not.
It is an actual procedure, a thing that is something that Swedish people do just towards the end of their life as they know that it's coming. They do like a really deep clean, getting rid of stuff, throwing things away. The idea is when I'm gone, my stuff should not be a burden upon anybody. And so you have to think about, okay, realistically, it's time to start doing this. And it's time to think about getting rid of all this stuff. And it highlighted to me just a real difference in the American thought process versus a lot of other countries. We certainly worship youth here in the United States and youthful appearance.
I mean, we don't. You and I, we chide the youths.
I loathe them, but also secretly yearn for their acceptance.
Oh yeah. Please like us youths.
Come on. Is there really going to be no time in my life that youths like me? Even in my youth, they didn't like me. And now, like,
so true. Now I'm older and they still don't like me. I don't understand what they don't like about, a show where we talk about death capsules.
I don't know. Is this not relatable to the youths?
Is this not what they're thinking about?
This week's episode is about death capsules, and then after the break, we're going to come back, and my story is about lower back pain, lumbar support. Anybody? No. I think we do. We worship youth here. We certainly it's really interesting. Somebody's accomplishments are more valuable in the United States the younger they are. We really love when a young person is very accomplished.
30 under 30, baby.
30 under 30, things like that. It's like, what can you do? How fast can you do it before you are old and irrelevant? And we don't like thinking about death here. We don't think about death. We don't talk about medical stuff in the United States very openly, like other countries do. It's considered gauche. It's not cool to do. And so it's I always like stories like this that push this into the American psyche and make us talk about this and think about this. We
totally.
don't. It's really interesting. Like particularly when I think about right to die stuff, I think about my grandfather and how towards the end of his life, he was very ill and we just wouldn't let him go. We wouldn't let him go. Right.
Right.
And because of that, we caused him, an additional couple years of he was already in mental decline. We caused some really intense mental freefall, and physically his body was ready to give up, and we just kept him alive because in the United States, it's all built around that.
Yeah,
it's all built around that. It's all built around because he was never in a situation where it's like pull the plug on him, right? Like it wasn't like that. It was a situation where it's like, you can choose between these treatments. And I do think that has something to do, like it's our culture, but I think it also has to do with commercialized and industrialized medicine here in the United States. Privatized hospitals and things like that, where it's like, legally, you can't tell us to do nothing. You get to choose. Here's the menu of expensive things we can do to keep him alive, whether he wants to be or not. Yeah. And I think that's very unfair. But it's a very American thing to do.
It is.
Keep him alive. Don't let him die. And it's like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Why? You?
I will tell you though, if you do, as an American, want to think about death, there is a place you could go if you were willing to travel. It is the place where one of these, actually the first of these, Sarco assisted suicide capsules is on display. There's a place called the Museum for Sepulchral Culture. That's hard to say. Sepulchral Culture.
Oh, sepulcher.
The Museum for Sepulchral Culture, which is in Kassel, Germany.
Yeah.
This thing is on display. The first Sarco is on display until August 2022.
Wait. I want to know more about the Museum of Sepulchral Culture Because that's like a sepulcher, as everybody who plays Dungeons and Dragons knows, is where you're going to find a tomb. Perhaps there's a lich there, or a demi-lich, or just an undead, a revenant of some kind.
Germany's Museum of Sepulchral Culture is a collection of coffins, headstones, funeral clothes, and more going back to the Middle Ages.
Yo, Jeff, I gotta go.
I feel like this is a place for you, Anthony.
Oh my God, I gotta go.
It has, it was opened in 1992, and it has jewelry, carriages. Some notable exhibitions from the collection include a display dedicated to Ghana's strange and festive coffin building culture.
Oh, man.
The strange connections between dancing and death, looking at the Tibetan Dance of the Dead, and even invitations to flamenco funerals.
Oh, my God. This place rules.
Yeah. Leave it to Germany, right? Leave it to Germany to have a museum of
I'm
death.
So into this. I love it. I love it. How close is it to Berlin?
Kassel? Kassel?
Yeah, I'm looking up right now. Oh, it's a 4-hour drive from Berlin.
No.
Okay. It's not, you definitely have to go out of your way if you're visiting. It might be worth it, though. I don't know. What else is there to do in Kassel? This is a thing for me to do on my own time. I'm sorry. But I love the idea of this museum. I love the idea of this museum.
Yeah, so that's where the first of these septum machines is. Now, there's a weird sentence in this article that says, I'm sorry, I said septum. It's Sarco. The first Sarco is being displayed.
I love that it's
at that museum.
Sarco. That's so good.
This is the weird second sentence in that paragraph. The second Sarco turned out not to be aesthetically pleasing.
Oh.
For that and various other reasons, it's not the best one to use. What?
Wait, that's a sentence or that's a quote?
That's in this article about it says the first Sarco is being displayed at the Museum for Sepulchral Culture in Kassel, Germany, from September 2021 to August 2022.
So, but this is not a quote. This is not a quote from somebody who was involved with the Sarco. This is the journalist saying this.
Well, no, this article is a transcribed interview.
Okay.
With Philip Nietzsche, the guy
so
who invented these.
Philip
he's
Nietzsche is saying
straight out, yeah.
If you're going to get it,
turned out to be not aesthetically pleasing. Like what? There was like a printing problem. What is that about? Or we just tried some new design and we didn't like it. He does not go into detail on that, but
I love this because, like, if you're going to do a Sarco, you got to get the cool one.
Yeah, you definitely got to get the cool one.
You got to get the cool one. Look, they both look like a Lady Gillette razor, but there's one that's like.
Now listen. I want to get you into a Sarco. I want to get you into one of these things. I definitely want to get you into it, but I do think you should spring for the upgraded version. Listen, your family, your friends, they deserve better than seeing you in Sarco 2.0. You know what I'm saying? Sarco 1.0, the original.
Yeah.
There was some strange design decisions in 2.0.
We're talking about a bespoke heritage suicide booth.
Exactly.
That's what. So. But I mean, like, what's the price difference though? Like, I mean,
it's quite a bit more. There's a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a lot of demand for 1.0. It's the original. It's the undisputed best looking version. I'm just saying you don't want to die and also be embarrassed. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I guess that's fair. What's the waiting list like for the Sarco 1.0? Because I can tell you, I've only got about 3 months, and I don't think I can budge on that. I don't have a lot of flexibility.
God, it's so dark. It's so dark. So check this out. He said they're working on for 3.0. They're working on the development of a camera inside that allows the person to communicate with people outside. I guess for that last 5 minutes. I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Hey, no. Can I tell you? No. Hey. Like,
This is feature creep. That's what that is. That's feature creep.
it really is. It really is. Because, like, say your goodbyes and then get in the Gillette Lady Razor. Like, don't,
and
like,
get jettisoned to space.
yeah,
It's a
don't.
3-step process.
If you haven't
Push
said
the
it all by
button.
the time you get into the death booth, you
Yeah,
haven't
if there's
said
one
it.
more thing you want to say, you shouldn't have gotten in the booth.
I really do. I really do hope that I have enough control over the situation when it happens that my final words can be like, oh yeah, and one more thing.
Button.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh wait, one more thing, and this is really important. And then I die.
I want my last words in that thing to be, what does this button do?
I gotta call the flight attendant. I need a soda. Like, this is wild, and I'm glad it exists.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad it exists. The history of assisted suicide and right to die is very interesting. And if you're sort of morbidly obsessed like I am, it's a great read. There's particularly like a lot of stories about what countries and what people from what countries travel to Switzerland the most. There's like a heavy population of like Japanese patients who travel to Switzerland to have like assisted deaths. It's very fascinating, and it really gives insight into different cultures and how we all feel about life and aging and dying. And I think it's
and what it means to have a dignified death. I think that to have dignity in death and to have some sort of control over that, I think is an honorable thing. We'll see how I feel, when that day approaches for me, if I still feel that way or if I'm trying to squeeze out every last second. But I sense that, the notion of having a little control over that is, I think it is dignified. It is a level of, moving out of your life in a way that feels like you are still autonomous and empowered in some way.
I still want to have my body dropped into a shark tank and make the people who love me the most watch the sharks eat me. I think that's fun.
What if the sharks refuse to eat you? What if they just knock you around a little bit and they have to like pull you out later? You're saying that you want to make it sure they're very hungry sharks, or
I get stuck. What if I get stuck like chips in a vending machine, and they've got to get like a big broom and just try to get me down the chute? Is there going to be like chum in the water to incentivize them to eat, or are they going to lacerate your body in some way to put some blood in the water? Because you being in the water with chum is probably going to be pretty unpleasant. Well, for my body meat to be kosher, they are allowed to drain the blood. So, like, I don't know if that's important to sharks. It might be important to my family since we're Jewish. I don't know. I'll have to ask.
Well,
but
you definitely want to respect your family's wishes in this process where they're forced to watch you be eaten by sharks.
Yeah, I want to give them a little something.
I just like the idea of you being tossed in, the sharks not eating you, and then they're like, all right, add the chum.
Yeah.
Add the buckets of chum.
Nothing. All right, roll them around in the krill. Get them out. Roll them around in the krill. Dump them back in. Like a panko. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A breaded carboni. That's what you need.
Yeah.
You need like a.
I still no, this is completely off topic. I'm not going to go there. Where I am going to go and where you should go is to our Patreon, patreon.com/we have concerns.
We're all going to die. So why not, make our lives better and your own lives better while we're still here by getting some extra content, some bonus stuff, participation with like-minded folks in our Discord, extra audio of the parts of the show at the beginning that you don't get to hear, that we're just ending when you start the show. You get those if you're a patron. Various levels get you various bonus content and that great feeling of making sure this show can continue. Patreon.com/we have concerns.
I want to talk about plastic.
Weren't we just?
In what way?
Blue translucent plastic in which you die?
Oh yeah, that's true. You know, that actually is a great point. Like, there's literally plastic in everything. There's
Yeah.
plastic. There's plastic in the suicide booths that we take for granted, that we all use every day. But it's literally in everything. Like, I forgot how omnipresent, and I didn't know how long plastic has been omnipresent in our lives. Like, celluloid plastic, Jeff, was invented in 1869.
Wow, really?
Yeah, there was a $10,000 prize offered by a billiard ball company that said, "Hey, these are all made out of ivory, and that's very expensive. What can we make a billiard ball out of that still feels like a billiard ball, has the heft that we need?"
And we've been killing so many elephants just to play pool.
Yo, like, legitimately though, so many things were made of
so
ivory.
Depressing.
But listen, also, pool's a very fun game, you know?
It is. It's very fun.
It's a
And I
great
think the
time.
elephants would enjoy it were they to play.
So that was the first plastic in 1869. In 1907, there was a chemist named Leo Baekeland who invented Bakelite. Bakelite. So in the 20s, like, you may have heard that things are made of like Bakelite. So like if you watch Antiques Roadshow and somebody has like some sort of like kitchen appliance or a camera or something, they say, "Oh, this is made of Bakelite." And I was always like, "Well, what's Bakelite?" It's just plastic, baby. It's just the first kind of plastic. And it's sort of the way like Band-Aid is now. Nobody else was making plastic, so you thought of plastic as Bakelite, right?
Huh.
But since then, we have found ways to put plastic in everything. You know, obviously, you think about like DuPont and all this stuff. Like, there's plastic in pantyhose, right? That was one of the first clothing that used it. There's plastic in the fibers of clothing, in all of the stuff that we eat. There's plastic everywhere, right? And here's the problem, Jeff.
Feels like you already just said the problem.
That there's plastic everywhere? I mean, well,
Yeah.
I mean, but think about this, Jeff. It like, what if I said there's money everywhere?
That's a little different.
Or if I said, "Oh no, there's sunshine everywhere." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know, just the fact that plastic exists is not necessarily a problem.
Yeah.
Except
No,
that
those three sentences are all exactly the same.
they're all
You're
exactly
right.
the same.
You're right.
Except, Jeff, that you're right, and it is a problem. Because, and you may have heard me allude to this, and the eagle-eared listeners, eagles, of course, known for their ears, have noticed that I've brought up plastics a couple times in the last few weeks, and I've been reading up about plastics a lot. And it's because of microplastics. We've talked a little bit about microplastics.
Yes, we have.
Microplastics are basically, as we use things and throw plastic things away, as they break up, as they get destroyed, or even as they just get used, we get these little like beads of plastic that are in everything, right? These little plastic particles that are everywhere. And one of the first places that we really notice that it's a problem is in the oceans. There have been a lot of microplastics in the oceans. Fish are now eating a lot of food that contains microplastics. They're inhaling a lot of microplastics. And the amount of plastic particles within food has just been going up and going up and going up over the years. To the point where, Jeff, how much plastic do you think a human being breathes, eats, ingests in some way over a week?
A week.
It
can't be that much, or else we would be dead. What is the unit of measure that we're talking about here? Is it in weight?
Give me in weight. What do you think it is?
I would say a few grams at the most.
It is about 5 grams. It's literally a credit card.
Oh.
You literally eat.
That's one way to dispose of your credit card, I guess.
Yeah, they say, listen, when your credit card expires and you get the new card, What you want to do is cut the old card into pieces and then digest them. So nobody
It's
can.
the only way to ensure that you don't get identity theft.
Dude, you cannot.
know?
You don't want to get identity theft. You can't get identity thefted. Not now.
You didn't. Not now. Not today. Not in the year 2021. No. Ingest your identity is the only way to do it. Keep it inside.
Yeah. So the level of microplastics that we are eating has been going up. The amount that we're breathing in has been going up. Things that you don't even think
5
about.
grams every week?
Every week, dude.
That's insane. That's insane.
That's a lot, right? And it comes
Yeah.
not just from like we're worried about seafood or we're worried about like a lot of people are worried about like BPAs, right? Like everybody's like get a BPA free water bottle, you know. There are just reheating your food in the microwave in a number 3 or 7 recyclable plastic container can leach like 20% of that into your food.
That's why I don't do that. I always put my stuff on a plate, you know? That way I'm only
Yeah.
ingesting porcelain.
Yeah, that way you only want the porcelain glaze. You want to glaze it on your own with like a little bit of like a marinade, but then you want that extra literal glaze from the porcelain.
Yes.
They say the best thing to use is glass. But the thing is, we are starting to find this in all kinds of parts of our body. 74,000 microplastic particles every year.
Are we turning into Plastic Man?
I wish
Baby
we were.
Plas?
I wish. But it's crazy though, because
Everybody's showing up with large glasses that they didn't think they needed. All of a
Mhm.
sudden, they're just on their face.
we're all stretchy. The fans,
Leotard wearing.
yeah. The fans want us to be played by Ben Schwartz. It's pretty wild. Because it doesn't just come from the places we think it comes from. You know, microplastics is any particle of plastic that's released into the air. So I get this package from Amazon that has a cable in it. I rip open the package.
Yes. You are you are throwing microplastics into the air.
Uh-huh.
It's like your container is sneezing at you.
Kind
And
of, yeah. Well, I mean, you think about it when you break apart like anything that's like wooden, you know, you can see like
Yeah.
the little bits of wood that splinter off, right? Or it's
Are we going to have to worry about micro woods?
we don't have to
micro
worry about
splinters?
micro splinters as much, I don't think.
Hmm. That's good.
But microplastics can be anything from 5 millimeters in length to smaller than 1,000 nanometers, right? And the way
Wow.
we find out, this is what's great. The way we find out how many of these plastics we have ingested and how much it's in our system. Do you know how they test for it, Jeff?
No, they have to look at your poop.
You can just urinate. You can just urinate. And then,
And if it comes out as an action figure,
yeah,
then you've got plastic. In
if you pass a Stretch Armstrong, it actually looks like the Play-Doh Fun Factory. When you pee it out.
If you're extruding rather than urinating, it's a bad thing.
Yeah, you can pee a 3D printer. What they do is they print a little boat to test how much plastic is in your urine.
Yeah. It's that little boat. That is
Yeah.
it's the metric.
But you actually you urinate it out, and they basically they put it in a centrifuge, and they can separate the plastic out of it, and they found that, and they can convert it back into plastic. Like they can take it and make it back into plastic.
I'm not peeing. I'm recycling.
That's right. This is post-consumer, baby. I'm woke.
Wait a minute, though. Now, I'm not blind to the fact that it's not good to have this stuff in your body at any point.
Mm.
But isn't it, if you're excreting it through your urine and feces, isn't that a good thing? Isn't that your body going, okay, we'll just pass that on through?
Well, you're
We don't
passing. You're passing a lot of it. You're right. This is your body doing what your body does, and it gets rid of waste and things that you can't digest and things that you don't need. Except Jeff, those are just some of the particles. It's not all of them. The problem is that BPAs and the phthalates from plastic can actually just get stuck in parts of your body, in the tissue. They can just be like in your lungs, in your organs. They can actually interfere with your endocrine, like your hormonal system, and they can be endocrine disruptors. They can cause.
So we're looking at the urine to see how much comes out, and we can make an estimation based on how much comes out as to how much has stayed in. Is that the idea?
No, the idea was just to see how many people have a detectable amount of this in their system. And Jeff, give me a percentage.
Oh God, it's going to be high. It's going to be high. 75?
90.
Jesus Christ.
10,000.
Everybody's got plastic.
10,000 adult men die from cardiovascular disease linked to the phthalates in their systems every year.
They're dying from plastic heart.
They have a case of plastic heart.
Man.
So
what are we going to do about this? We can't do anything about this. What are we going to do?
We can do some stuff about it, but the big thing that made me start looking into this, and this shit, listen, baby, it's got to get worse before it gets better. I got to tell you everything that's happening.
I'm going to get in my suicide pod.
They just finished some new studies, some hot new studies, baby. They're finding out all kinds of things. Microplastics can weaken the adhesive abilities of our muscles.
Muscles can't stick together anymore.
Yeah, based on studies that they've been doing on marine creatures that have like high levels of plastics, microplastics. The adhesive abilities of their muscles are weakened. The cognitive abilities are weakened. Reproductive changes, aneurysms.
No, everything you've said so far means that we're turning into Plastic Man. If our muscles can't stick together and they stretch more and we're not as smart as we were, we're turning into Plastic Man.
But when do we turn into a tire and roll off camera? Kids, ask your parents. Now, this is the big one, Jeff. This is a study that came out a couple weeks back. And it says that these microplastics, and we've thought this might be true for a while, but now we have proof. These microplastics, especially ones that are 2 micrometers or less, can pass through the blood-brain barrier and get into your
plastic brain. Plastic brain. Plastic brain.
Plastic brain.
Doesn't sound good to have plastic brain. Oh man, that's not good. That sounds really not good. So again, I ask, what are we doing about this?
Well, so there's like a whole lot of nothing being done.
Yeah,
mostly.
That's the worry I have.
Because remember, most things are made of plastic, and plastic is petroleum, and petroleum is big oil, and the lobbies, and it's not great. But there are things that, and plastic production actually has continued to rise over the last 10 years.
Yeah. Well, 3D printed death pods aren't going to make themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Half of the plastic ever made, Jeff, was made in the last 13 years.
That is, I remember reading that stat. That is bonkers. That is bonkers. You think about all the plastics that have ever been made in human history, or at least in the last, 100 years. Half of them in the last, what did you say, 13?
13 years. That's a lot. So there are a couple things.
I mean, that's basically right after I started podcasting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been barely podcasting. I've been podcasting for like 12 years. And we made more plastic in the time. Is it my fault? Should I have not made so many podcasts that make it so desirable to have pod catching devices? Did I do it?
The problem is the byproduct of each podcast is a small amount of petroleum waste. And the only thing we can do with that is turn it into gadgets and tchotchkes. Yeah, so this is weird. I mean, there is some stuff that's happening. Like, obviously individuals, like a lot of individuals are trying to use less plastic, being more environmentally friendly. But you know what I always say? Fuck that. Make the companies do it, because the companies do more of it in a day than you'll fucking do in your entire life. So there is legislation. There's a legislation that's been put out that hopefully that will get signed into a law. That's called the Break Free from Plastic Pollution Act, which is going to phase out a lot of single-use plastics and lower the amount of allowed plastic production in the United States. Will this just move plastic production to other places? Maybe, but
Definitely.
it's definitely a step in the right direction. It also requires sellers of plastic to cover the collection of plastic byproducts and recycling, which means our broken recycling programs in most cities will be subsidized by the people that are actually creating the need for these recycling programs. So hopefully that will get better as well. Now, if you're asking, what can I do to put less plastic into my ding-dang brain right now? I can tell you.
Please tell me about my ding dang brain.
So first of all, do not carry a plastic water bottle, whether it's a single-use water bottle or even a water bottle that you carry around all day. Get yourself like a metal or a glass bottle to drink.
Aluminium, right?
Yeah. And also use just a water filter. Check out how good your water filters are, because they will filter out a lot of these larger particles of microplastics that are in tap water and that are in the drinking water. I carry around a metal bottle now.
Yeah, me too. I have one right here, in fact. Boom.
I have a metal bottle, and then I have my metal thermos for my coffee that I carry around now.
Got my Swell.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
And that's a lot easier.
It doesn't seem to prevent the breathing of it.
Yeah.
The breathing.
So there are a couple other things about ingestion too. Like, number one, don't microwave in plastic, like we said, microwave in glass.
Yeah. Right.
Store your food in as much glass, silicone, or foil as you can, and try to get rid of plastic containers as much as possible.
So like your Tupperware is bad?
Your Tupperware is, you definitely want to go for more of that, like the glass, like the corner, the Corningware or whatever, or even just foil, like they're saying. If you're using a plastic container, you could line it with foil if you wanted to. And that helps. Or wrap the food that's in the plastic container in foil, and that'll help. Obviously, like food that's packaged in plastic, eat more fresh foods. We talk about that a lot. We talk about how America is not built to allow you to eat fresh food, but do your best. But then, like, one that's like a really big deal that they said for the inhalation, make sure you're vacuuming regularly. Make sure you're dusting regularly, because a larger amount of household dust than you think is microplastics.
Interesting.
Yeah. Or if you have an air purifier with a HEPA filter, that's huge. And try to get rid of as much dust in your house as possible, which I'm bad at. I'm so bad at.
We did 2 stories today. You'd think the first one would be the more depressing of the 2. Turns out I'm really bummed out about the second one.
Yeah, we got about halfway through, and I was like, I can't believe we're going to go from dignity of death to there's plastic poisoning your brain.
It's pretty rough.
It's real rough, dude.
Rough.
It's real rough. But
these kinds of things to me are so haunting, because we have no way to quantify the effect on the human species.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe it's nothing.
Oh, it's definitely
but maybe
not,
it's something huge. Maybe it's massive. Maybe it isn't even causing us death, but maybe it's contributing to making us all stupider, or making us all behave in weird ways, or affecting our general day-to-day health in some ways that we'll never be able to have a direct correlation, one-to-one causal. You can point to it, but maybe.
Yeah. And I mean, that's why
maybe this is the thing that we've been doing to ourselves for 50 years, This is
why so many of these studies are coming out now, and why so many microplastic studies are coming out now, is because we've realized that, like, we haven't been keeping track of this.
Right.
And they have found that, like, it's definitely connected to alterations in immune responses, inflammatory responses. Dude, we're a generation that has more inflammatory and autoimmune problems than any generation. Yeah. And they're like, dude, this isn't causing all of it, but, like, if you got little bits of plastic that's making your body irritated all the time, like, of course it's.
Well, you think about, there was an era where, like, everything was painted with lead.
Oh, God.
Your whole house was like, had lead in it.
Yeah.
And asbestos.
Yep.
And they're just like, we'll just use this. And then all of a sudden people went, you know what? Maybe this is bad for us. We shouldn't be doing it. It feels like this is another one of those examples.
That's why they won't, if you go to one of those places where you get drunk and paint your own pottery, you know those places?
Yeah.
If you go to one of those places, and let me tell you something. You think it's just for wine moms? I'm here to tell you it's not just for wine moms. You can have a lot of fun at those ceramics painting places. They let you bring your own bottle. You can hang out with friends and just like paint a weird plate and get blitzed. And it's lovely.
Yeah.
It costs like $10. They don't let you paint anything red. And it's because the most commercially available red glaze for ceramics is fucking poison. So if you're making a plate, they're like, don't paint that red. You're not allowed.
I've literally been to one of these places one time, and the thing I did is I made a bowl that is red. I still have it.
Congratulations, you schmuck. I can't believe they didn't tell you.
It's my own personal suicide bowl.
It's Swiss. I'm going to put it on display in a very fancy museum. Come see it. Hey, everyone. That's your downer for this week.
Yeah. Happy holidays. If you're listening to this. That's what you come to We Have Concerns for.
We're going to have to do a Chronicles of a Badass.
Cheer.
We're going to have to do a Chronicles of a Badass or a weird animal story next week, because otherwise...
We marked down this date when Anthony asked me to do a Chronicles of a Badass.
I mean...
Anthony has been dead set against Chronicles of a Badass since its inception.
Listen, it's a terrible segment, but it doesn't depress people.
That's true.
Nobody's ever depressed by it. Yeah, the next week will be more of an upper. Maybe we should have put a downer warning on this one. Jeff, when you write the description for this one, put a downer warning at the beginning.
I mean, I think our entire podcast is a downer warning.
My entire life's a downer warning, baby. Memento Mori. I'll see you in the Discord, motherfuckers. Patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. Remember, you will die. We'll see you next week.